Okay, we're going to go on to part 7. This is going to be a very short part. We're going to be talking about the adrenal glands. A lot of people don't actually understand or even know or even heard of the adrenal glands, or maybe you've ever heard of adrenal exhaustion or adrenal fatigue. So what we're really talking about here is you have your adrenal glands, which are really small. They're almost like a almond size. That's how big they are, and they sit on top of your kidney. So your kidney would be, I don't know, something like that. That's your kidney. So what the research shows is how the adrenal glands work is they actually need stimulation. You see this hormone here, the ACTH hormone comes down and stimulates that adrenal gland to start producing what we call cortisol. So what the research is showing is a decrease in the HPA axis responsiveness significantly correlated with greater cognitive impairment. So let me just explain this. So here we have, they call it the HPA. So let's go over that. So we have the hypothalamus, then we have your pituitary. So the hypothalamus is the H, the P is the pituitary, and then the A, or the P is the pituitary, then the A is the adrenal gland. So it's called the HPA axis. So what this is really showing is the adrenal glands, the A right here, is stimulated by hormones, and the hormones are produced by your hypothalamus and your pituitary gland. So guess what? If you have decreased brain function, that means that your hypothalamus here and your pituitary glands aren't going to be functioning and firing the way they should. So if that happens, you're not going to have normal adrenal gland output, and you need adrenal glands function. You need this cortisol for lots and lots of things in your body. This is why it shows that it's basically, if you have a decreased response, you're going to have cognitive impairment, such as in dementia. So let's go over a lab. Let me clear this out. So here's what you're kind of seeing, or what you're kind of looking at here. So you see this morning, noon, evening, and night. This is checking, see, then it says here the cortisol graph. So this is checking your cortisol output. Now, then up in here, these are actually the lab ranges. So you can see the adrenal phase. Here's normal. This would be phase 1, phase 2, and this would be phase 3 here. So this person here is what we would say she's in phase 3 of adrenal dysfunction. So what happens here is we want this normal function to be right in this dark green area, and she's almost, basically I'd say she's flatlined. She's like having a heart attack. You see a female, 56 years old. So what does this tell us? What does this test tell us? This test tells us that the hormones that are produced in the brain, right, to tell the adrenal glands to start producing cortisol is not working, right? Back in the day, it would be like my dad yelling at me, "Hugh, get out there and cut the grass," right? That's that yelling here goes down to the adrenal glands, and this starts producing cortisol. My dad yells at me. This is my dad yelling at me to get out there and start cutting the grass. Okay, so this is me. I see that. This is the cortisol level. So what do? I start getting out there and I start cutting the what? The grass. Okay, but here's the thing. If my dad's not yelling at me to cut the grass, guess what happens to my output? Am I going to cut the grass? I'm not going to cut the grass. So I'm going to look something like this. So this test not only tells us that your brain's malfunctioning, right? It's neurodegenerating, but then you're not producing cortisol where there's an array of symptoms with not enough cortisol. So I've taken pre and post labs on this, and we can actually increase the cortisol level, which tells us that your brain is functioning as well. So if you want to geek out on this a little bit more, you see this morning cortisol. The morning cortisol is actually the most critical, which is the morning one right here, because it should be like way up in there, right? So the morning cortisol for her is 6.7. Now what you're going to see here is this is like the medical range. I don't know if you can see that. I'm just going to print this out. It's 5.1 to 40.2, but this is the sweet spot. This is the functional spot. We want to be at 18. right? 18 to 35. So the sweet spot is 18 to 35, and she's sitting at 7. So this is not very good at all. And you can see all these labs here are on the low side. And then we also checked hormones too. So for example here, her progesterone was less than 10, couldn't even be measurable. We want to see this functioning if they're supplementing between 500 and 3,000. Her estrogen is 8.2. I like to see this more like 3.5. Her DHEA is 100, not too bad, 184, but I'd like to see that more closer to 250. So this is just another test that we're looking at to see how your brain is functioning and how we can get that better and start increasing your cortisol levels, and then you start to heal and function better, and then you can start to regrow the fingers when it comes to your nervous system. Take care.